I'm 55 years old, and life has a way of settling into predictable grooves by this age. I live in a small coastal town in Maine, where the air carries the faint tang of salt and the horizon stretches wide enough to make you feel both small and infinite. I've raised a daughter, Emily, now 27 and chasing her dreams in Boston. My days revolve around my job at a cozy bookstore, where I spend hours shelving novels and sipping coffee from a chipped mug. I've always been careful, not just with money or plans, but with my heart. After a marriage that frayed slowly, like a rope worn thin by time, I convinced myself that the kind of love that sets your soul alight was a young woman's game. That was for the version of me who once believed in midnight confessions, impulsive road trips, and the electric hum of possibility. I'd made peace with routine, with quiet evenings alone, with the idea that my heart had already sung its boldest songs. But then, something happened. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just a small favor, a moment so ordinary I barely noticed it at first. Yet, it reached deep inside me, stirring something I thought had long gone dormant. It wasn't just a fleeting feeling, it was a shift, a crack in the walls I'd built around myself. And it all began with a single text. It was a crisp October afternoon, the kind where the leaves blaze red and gold, and the air bites just enough to feel alive. I was rearranging a display of poetry collections when my phone buzzed. A message from my friend Leela. Anna, I'm so sorry to ask, but can you pick Noah up from soccer practice? I'm stuck at the clinic, and he's got no way home. Noah was her younger brother, 18 now, no longer the gangly kid I remembered from years ago, chasing fireflies in Lila's backyard or building forts out of couch cushions. I'd known Leela since our college days, when we'd bonded over late-night study sessions and cheap wine. Her family had become a kind of extension of mine, her parents, her brother, all familiar faces at barbecues and holiday dinners. Noah was like a nephew, or so I'd always thought. No problem, I texted back, slipping on my coat and grabbing my keys. The drive to the high school was short, the road winding past clapboard houses and trees heavy with autumn. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the parking lot as I pulled in. A few kids lingered near the field, their laughter sharp in the cool air. Then I saw Noah, striding toward my car, his dark curls damp with sweat, a backpack slung over one shoulder. He was taller than I remembered, lean and loose-limbed, moving with the careless grace of youth. His hoodie was faded, his gym shorts wrinkled, but there was something about him, a quiet confidence, maybe, or a spark in his eyes that caught me off guard. He slid into the passenger seat, tossing his bag into the back. Thanks, Anna. You're a lifesaver. I laughed, turning the key in the ignition. Hardly, it's just a ride. He grinned, leaning back. Still, Lila's always running late. And Mom's, well, you know. I did. Their mother was a free spirit, always chasing some new venture, a pottery studio, a yoga retreat, a brief stint selling essential oils. Leela had taken on the role of family anchor. And Noah, well, he seemed to drift in her shadow, carrying his independence like a shield. We pulled onto the road, the sky a brilliant canvas of orange and pink. I asked about school, about soccer, expecting the usual teenage brevity. But Noah surprised me. It's fine, he said, then paused, his fingers tapping restlessly on his knee. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like I'm just there, like people see me, but they don't really see me. His words hit a nerve, raw and unexpected. I glanced at him, his profile sharp against the fading light. I know that feeling, I said softly. It's easy to blend into the background, especially when life gets loud around you. He turned to me, his eyes searching. You don't seem like someone who blends in. You're, I don't know, calm, like you've got it all figured out. I smiled, but there was a pang behind it. That's an illusion I've had years to practice. Trust me, I'm still figuring it out. He didn't respond right away, just looked out the window, his jaw tight. The silence wasn't awkward, but it carried weight, like we'd stumbled into something deeper than either of us expected. When we pulled into Lila's driveway, he didn't move to get out. He sat there, staring at the dashboard, his fingers still drumming. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally, his voice quieter now. "Of course. Why do you always seem so okay with being alone? Like, you don't need anyone?" The question caught me off guard, like a door swinging open to a room I hadn't entered in years. I wanted to brush it off, to make a joke, but the way he looked at me open, unguarded demanded honesty. "I'm not always okay with it," I admitted. "I just got good at it. After a while, you learn to live with the quiet. It's not the same as liking it." He nodded, like he was turning that over in his mind. "I feel like that sometimes. Like I'm shouting and no one hears me. Not Lila, not my mom, not my friends." "You're not shouting loud enough yet," I said gently. "You're still young, Noah. You've got time to find your voice." He looked at me then, really looked, and for a moment, I felt it a flicker in my chest, faint but unmistakable, like a spark catching on dry tinder. It wasn't anything I could name, not yet, but it was there. "Thanks for not treating me like a kid," he said, his voice low. "Most people do." "You're not a kid," I replied, and I meant it. He was caught in that liminal space. Not quite a boy, not yet a man, but full of a raw, searching energy that stirred something in me, something I hadn't felt in years. He grabbed his bag, pausing at the door. "Can we talk again sometime? Like this?" I nodded, my throat tight. "Sure, Noah." He gave me a small smile, then disappeared into the house. I sat there, hands still on the wheel, staring at my reflection in the windshield. The world felt different, like a painting I'd seen 1,000 times but only now noticed a hidden detail, an unexpected color, a shadow I'd missed. Something had shifted, and I wasn't sure what it meant. The next week passed in a haze. I went through my routines, stacking books, ringing up customers, cooking dinner for one, but my mind kept drifting back to that ride. The way Noah's voice softened, the way his eyes held mine for a beat too long. I told myself it was nothing, just a moment of connection with someone who needed it. I was being kind, that was all, but deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. There was a warmth in my chest, a quiet ache, and it scared me as much as it intrigued me. Lila called again, a few days later. "Anna, you're a godsend. Can you grab Noah again? I'm stuck at work, and he's at the school late." "No trouble," I said, ignoring the way my heart skipped. This time, I caught myself lingering in front of the mirror before I left, smoothing my hair, swapping my usual cardigan for a soft blue sweater. Ridiculous, I thought. But I didn't change. Noah climbed into the car, his grin a little brighter. "You're making this a habit. Blame your sister," I teased, easing onto the road. We talked easily at first about his team's latest win, about a book he'd been assigned in English, but then the conversation turned, as it had before, to something deeper. "I've been thinking about what you said," he started, his voice quieter, "about finding my voice. I don't even know what that means yet." "It's different for everyone," I said. "For me, it was realizing I didn't have to be what everyone expected: a perfect wife, a perfect mom. But it took years and a lot of mistakes. He looked at me, curious. What kind of mistakes? I hesitated, then laughed softly. The kind where you think someone else can make you whole. The kind where you say yes to things you know you should say no to, just because you're afraid of being alone. He nodded, his eyes distant. I do that. Say yes to stuff I don't want. Like, I'm supposed to be this great student, great athlete, but it's not me. Not really. Then who are you, Noah? I asked, my voice gentle. He didn't answer. Right away. The road stretched out, the sky now streaked with violet and gold. I don't know yet, he said finally. But when I'm with you, I feel like I could figure it out. My breath caught. I should have changed the subject, made a joke. But instead, I let the words settle between us. We pulled into the driveway, and again, he didn't get out. The silence was heavy, charged. Like the air before a storm. I don't want to weird you out, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. But you make me feel different, like I'm not just Lila's little brother or some random kid. You're not just anything, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. You're you, and that's enough. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine, and for a moment, I thought he might say something more. Instead, he just nodded, grabbed his bag, and said, See you, Anna. I watched him walk away, my heart pounding in a way that felt both wrong and alive. I drove home, the world outside blurring as my thoughts spun. This wasn't supposed to happen, not to me, not now, not with someone so young. But it wasn't about age, not really. It was about the way he saw me, the way he made me feel seen, too. The days that followed were a strange mix of routine and restlessness. I caught myself lingering over small things, a song on the radio that reminded me of his voice, the scent of pine from the hand sanitizer in my car that day we first talked. I'd stand in the bookstore, staring at a shelf, my mind replaying the way he looked at me, open and unguarded. I told myself to let it go, to focus on the life I'd built, but the pull was undeniable. Then, one chilly evening, my phone lit up. Hey, Anna. It's Noah. Can I come by? I just want to talk. My fingers hovered over the screen, torn between caution and curiosity. Finally, I typed, sure. Back porch. Gates open. He arrived 20 minutes later, his hands stuffed in his hoodie pockets, his breath visible in the cold air. I opened the back door, and he settled onto the wicker sofa under the porch light, its soft glow catching the edges of his curls. You okay with this? He asked, his voice tentative. It's just talking, I said, sitting across from him. I'm okay with talking. He smiled, a little shy. You don't make me feel like I'm weird for wanting to be here. You're not weird, I said. You're honest. That's rare. He looked down, then back up. I keep thinking about you. Not, like, in a creepy way. Just, you get me. And I don't feel like I have to pretend with you. I swallowed, my chest tight. Noah, I'm glad you feel that way. But you know this is complicated, right? I'm older. I'm your sister's friend. There's a line we can't cross. I know, he said quickly. I'm not asking for that. I like being around you. I like how you make me feel. The words landed softly, but they carried weight. I wanted to tell him to stop, to protect us both. But instead, I said, you make me feel seen, too. And that's not something I've had in a long time. We sat there, the night wrapping round us, the distant sound of waves against the shore. We talked about his dreams of studying marine biology, about my years of raising Emily alone, about the small moments that shape a life. It wasn't romantic, not exactly, but it was intimate, a connection that felt both fragile and profound. When he stood to leave, he paused. "Can I come back? Just to talk?" I nodded. "Just to talk." He left, and I stood on the porch, the cold seeping into my bones. But inside, I felt warm, alive, like a part of me had woken up after years of sleep. The weeks that followed were a dance of distance and closeness. Noah and I didn't see each other often. Another ride, a quick coffee when Leela was late again, but each moment felt like a gift. We never crossed a line, never touched beyond a hand on a shoulder or a fleeting hug, but the air between us hummed with understanding. I began to notice small changes in myself. I smiled more, lingered over my morning coffee, felt the world a little brighter. It wasn't about him, not entirely. It was about what he'd awakened in me, a reminder that I was still here, still capable of feeling. One Saturday evening, he texted again. "Can we talk? I'm outside." I found him on the porch, his face serious, his hands fidgeting. We sat at the kitchen table this time, the room warm with the glow of a single lamp. He looked at me, his eyes steady. "I need to say something, and I don't want you to think I'm crazy." "I won't," I promised. "I care about you, Anna. Not like a friend, not like a kid with a crush. It's more than that. I know it's not simple, and I know it might not go anywhere, but it's real. I feel it." My heart ached, not with desire, but with recognition. I saw myself in him, the longing to be known, to matter. "I care about you, too," I said carefully. But caring doesn't always mean what we want it to mean. Sometimes it's about being there, not about more. He nodded, his jaw tight. "I get it. I just needed you to know." I reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "You're brave for saying it, and I'm glad you did. But we have to be careful, for both of us." He stayed a while longer, and we talked about lighter things, music, movies, his plans for college. When he left, he hugged me, and I let myself hold on a moment longer than I should have. As the door closed, I felt a quiet shift inside me, not regret, not longing, but gratitude for him, for this unexpected connection, for the reminder that I was still capable of feeling something real. Months passed. Noah graduated, got accepted to a college out west, and our talks became less frequent, scattered across texts and occasional calls. But they never lost their depth. Each time, I felt a little more whole, a little less invisible, and I knew, in some quiet way, he did too. One evening, as summer faded into fall, I got a letter from him, not a text, but an actual letter, written in his messy scrawl. "Anna, I'm leaving for school next week. I just wanted to say thank you, not just for the rides, but for seeing me, for making me feel like I matter. I'll never forget that." I stood in my kitchen, the letter in my hands, and smiled. The world was the same bookstore, same quiet evenings, but I was different. I wasn't invisible anymore, and neither was Noah. Sometimes, the most powerful connections aren't about romance or grand gestures. They're about the quiet moments, the shared truths, the way two people can wake each other up. In that small coastal town, under the weight of autumn leaves and starlit nights, I found something I hadn't known. I'd lost myself, and in doing so, I helped someone else find themselves, too.